See, this is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about. As soon as I got done with the last video, I go and hear what you get on any Hebrew Israelite camp. GOCC, or excuse me, IUIC, ISUPK. The only other camp that I like, that I ride hard with, that I can't even remember their damn names now. Well, let me see. I can't remember who they are, but I follow them on my YouTube. And it's on the tip of my tongue too. It come back after this video is over. So I get on the dudes of IUIC. Guess what they're talking about? Was Malcolm X bisexual? You meant to tell me all this destruction that's happening upon the earth, all the destruction that's being brought down upon your enemies, all the lands, they are pretty much desolate because the people are dead. All this good information you could bring, the only thing you stupid niggas could bring is whether it's Malcolm X bisexual or not. I have a question for heterosexual men. Well, we're going to call them weak. We're going to call them pseudo-heterosexuals because they're really homosexuals. We're going to call them pseudo-heteros. Why do you pay so much attention to homosexuals and bisexual men? Why is homosexual and bisexual men always on your mind 24/7? Tell me, as a heterosexual man, why is dick on your mind 24/7? That doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense to me. Because the Christian church went after the homosexuals, well, the eunuchs. That's what they really are. Let's really get into this. That's who the homosexuals are, eunuchs. And the eunuchs were not defiled by women. And the king made sure that they weren't defiled by women by castrating them. And God did the same thing by spiritually castrating them. So the king would bring the eunuchs into his home, into his kingdom, to watch over his home, because they weren't defiled by women. And according to scripture, Revelation, he that has been defiled by woman will not inherit the kingdom of God. But, you know, IUIC, all them pseudo-Christian Negroes, they don't want to talk about none of this. Because that's going to go against their agenda. Why did the Christian church hate the eunuchs so much? This is a common question. This is what makes me so angry. It's not even the fact. It's your hypocrisy in dealing with the homosexuals and the bisexuals. It's your hypocrisy. Because the book of Leviticus, which is the only verse that they ever use, I've noticed that. They only use one verse. I swear to God, there's only one verse. One verse. And he that lies with mankind as with woman is an abomination. That's the only one they use. But the book of Leviticus was to the Levites, the Haitians, the priests. The priests are the only ones who are truly under the book of Leviticus. Are only the priests. Everyone else that is not a priest, the Lord has called you to be a prophet. And if you want to be a priest unto the Most High in His kingdom, then you put yourself under the law of Leviticus. Because that's how the Most High assures that His priesthood stays as pure as possible. But the book of Leviticus was not to the common man or the common children of Israel. It was directly to the Levites. It's literally in the damn name Leviticus. It was given to the Levites, the priests of God. And those that wanted to be priests of God. Because in order to be a priest unto God, you need to have a pure. God, the Most High has order. Therefore, He wants a woman and a man to rule His priesthood. Not a man and a man, not a woman and a woman. So if you want to be a part of that priesthood, these are your laws. But when you are under just the common law of Israel, just the common law for the common man of Israel, then you are under the Ten Commandments, the Grace, and all the other books. This is not a hard concept to understand unless you have those Christian church and those pseudo-Christian Negroes that's jumping from trees. Because deep down inside, they suck dick. And they can't accept the fact that they suck dick and eat booty. And so they've spent all their times and all their lives going out and trying to go after the homosexuals and the bisexuals, which really are actually eunuchs. Don't get me started on Samuel, 1st and 2nd Samuel. And don't get me started on King David and Jonathan. If y'all really want to go there. See, this is why I can't deal with a lot of Hebrews. Because they're nothing more than just Christians. They're not even really Hebrews. Because really Hebrews is, to be a true Hebrew, you're an astrologer. You're a prophet. You're a magician. You're all of these things. You have all the books and all the information. But the camps, they don't have all the books. They only have 88. Because that's all the books that the churches allowed them to have. Because again, all the Hebrew Israelite camps are Catholic churches. That's why I hate them. That's why I not ever joined them. I knew from them. Look. Anybody can smell a Christian from a mile away. Because they have all the same attributes. I don't care if they put on purple garment and fringes and hold swords and walk around the hoods like purple Power Rangers. You're still Catholics. You're still Christians. So when the Lord goes into this again, Paul goes into this again, where the Lord said, I've given all of the house of Israel up to vile afflictions. No, some. No. All. No, he only gave up a little bit. All. No, he only gave up some. All. Oh, no, he only gave up the wicked. All. Oh, no, he didn't give up everyone. All. When the Lord said he gave up all of the house of Israel to vile afflictions. So I'm just trying to figure out, you niggas in the Hebrew camps, who the fuck do you think you are? Because you're part of all, which means you are also under those vile afflictions as well. That's why I can't stand those purple Power Ranger Barney Negroes. And that's why you see a lot of these Hebrew Israelite camps. A lot of their members are being robbed now. Their houses are burning down. Their cars are being stolen. There was one of them. He was robbed right on camera. Right on camera. You think the Most High is playing with you niggas? So all of y'all that's a part of those Hebrew camps, you're going to suffer the same fate that the Christian and Catholic Church is going to suffer. Death. Death. Oh, Yahweh Shai ain't here for y'all, honey. We told y'all this. Because you Hebrew camps do nothing but cause more confusion and division inside the same community you claim to try to be teaching. Like, sit on down. So, the eunuchs, I think I'm actually going to do a whole video on this now. I'm going to do a whole video on this. It's going to be later on, maybe in next week or so. But the eunuchs are still here on earth, and they're still being hunted down by the Christian and the Catholic Church. The problem is that the king have perverted the eunuchs, and the eunuchs have perverted the laws of God. That's why Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed. If you believe that Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed because of homosexuality, you're a special type of stupid. You're a special type of stupid, and I know you have not read any books. Because Sodom and Gomorrah was truly destroyed because of splicing, genetic modifying, removing the penis, taking the penis and putting it into a vagina. They were doing horrible things that was not outside of homosexuality. Is pedophilia. Pedophilia. Because the spirits of those vile afflictions cover so many grounds. Pedophilia comes out of that spirit. Stalking, predators, all of that's why when I did the videos about the predators yesterday, I was supposed to go into all of this. I just didn't feel like it. All those spirits come out of that Romans 1. Because we already established that the book of Leviticus is unto the Levites and those of us that are striving to be priests. That is the law of the priest. That is the law it takes to be the priest. That law was not put onto everyone. Like the stupid Christian church and those stupid Hebrew camps would love to try to put that law on everyone. It's amazing to me. I listen to these channels and all I hear is them talking about homosexuality. And all these things that are happening upon the earth. All you could worry about is who's sucking whose dick. To me, that is the biggest red flag right there. That is the biggest red flag right there. This is why I hate. And over the years, I've become to hate the camps even more and more. So I think we should disband them all. The United States government needs to come in and disband all those camps. Because they have done absolutely no good for anyone. Because the true independent Hebrew Israelites, the big Levites and the big Judahs, this is where all of our information is coming from anyway. Why do we need those camps? We don't need them. They're not giving us any information. Those new dudes are still talking about the same information that I learned over 10 years ago. Just like the black church. They go through Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John all your life. Those are the only 4 books. It's like, I need to know more stuff. And that's what the Hebrew Israelite camps are. They're a bunch of dummies leading more dummies. Because once we got the information and realized that wait a minute, something is not right about these Hebrew camps. Something is not right. I got to get to the bottom of this and figure out what is not right. And when you realize, wait a minute, and then when you start digging and realizing, where are they getting this money from? Always check isn't it the saying is follow the money? Well, let's follow the money. Who is funding the Israelite camps? Rome. The money goes back to Rome. And since the money goes back to Rome, the doctrine comes from Rome. That's why I don't trust anybody in those Israelite camps. Anyone that's calling themselves Hebrew, that's following these Israelite camps, they are not to be trusted. Because their information is pseudo-Catholicism. That's what it is. Pseudo-Catholicism. And all this stuff going on, and they talk about Jacob's trouble. Well, we went through Jacob's trouble already. Those Israelite camps so badly want black people to be put back in slavery. Those Israelite camps want black people to be put back under Jacob's trouble. So badly. But there's not going to be no Jacob's trouble. The European nations are being destroyed. But they don't want to talk about that. They want to talk about whether Malcolm X is bisexual or not. You can't make this shit up. You can't. You can't make this up.
Don't take if allergic to it, or if you or someone in your family.
So I'm actually going to do a whole video on this because when I was talking about the whole foster care system and all this stuff, these are also the same systems where those spirits were easily to be transferred. So I'm going to do a whole video on this because, especially foster children, we already went down that avenue with these stupid people. So the book of Leviticus is to the Levites, the priests, the Haitians. But since the Haitians didn't want to be priests of God, they wanted to be niggas. Because black people don't want to be what God called them. They want to be everything else but what God said they are. So God said, okay, well, you don't want to be this. I'm going to give this priesthood to somebody else. And guess who he gave it to? The homosexuals, the eunuchs. But the Hebrew camps, they don't want to talk about that. Everybody's, oh, the Lord is against homosexuality. But they go home and eat a bacon sandwich with tattoos all over their face. What? So the problem is your hypocrisy. It's your hypocrisy in your doctrine. That's my fucking problem.
Seagull cup? I'm gonna need another lollipop. Where does she keep them? Oh, here, they're in this cup that has a seagull on it. Wait.
They out of all the things, because there's 7 things that the Lord said, there are 7 things that I hate the most. And I hate to break it to you, homosexuality is not on that list of one of the things that God hates the most. What he does hate the most is a lying tongue. I guess that's why he's burning you Hebrew camps' houses down and robbing y'all, huh? Because you are nothing but a bunch of lying tongue niggas. And that's why Paul was saying, and everyone's like, oh, well, Paul, he's a homosexual then. What? Because you know why y'all so obsessed with the homosexuals and the gays? I mean, the bisexuals? Because you are them. That's who you want to be. You're just mad because they had the balls and the gall to be who the fuck they want to be. Now, when we get into the line of perverseness, that goes into the line of sodomy. Sodomy and homosexuality are 2 different things. And if you don't know the difference between the 2, you should really shut up. And allow the real prophets and the real priests to be able to teach the homosexuals and the bisexuals. And you stupid pseudo-Christians stay down. Period. But y'all are pseudo-homosexuals. That's what we're going to call you. You pseudo-homosexuals. That's why you worry about them so much. That's why. And in that, you are not teaching the people what they need to be taught. Just like the Christian church. They spent all these years hunting down the eunuchs, cutting their genitals off, and oppressing them and beating them because the eunuchs were also Israelites. And still to this day, the Christian church, the Catholic church is hunting down the eunuchs. And the only eunuchs that they allowed to be part of the Christian church were the ones that looked like them. That was going to carry out that perverseness. That perverse nature. Because let's face it, this is going to be 3 videos. So let's face it, because the 3, what's what I want to say? The 3... Let's say it. Fuck them. Fuck them. So, you want to know who corrupted the eunuchs? It was the heterosexual man that corrupted the eunuchs. They cut their genitals off. Just like Saul, they're a bunch of Sauls. You're a bunch of Sauls. Because when Saul saw that David and Jonathan had this strong brotherly relation, this brotherly love, they called it a homosexual relationship and they wanted to kill David for it. That's how stupid you niggas are. And you've always been this stupid. It's not like it happened overnight. Niggas always been dumb. So Sauls, you're a bunch of stupid Sauls. Saul decided he wanted to kill David because he thought that him and Jonathan were a little bit more than friends. Because they had a loyalty in a relationship, a friendship, a brotherly friendship. And they called that gay. Just like any nigga would today. You got 2 bros, they've been friends for a long time, they do everything together, they would call them gay. Because you people are obsessed with somebody being gay. You always want to make somebody gay. What is wrong with you people? You people have children just to make them gay. This is what you did in Sodom and Gomorrah. God destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. Not what the homosexuals were doing, it's what you heterosexuals were doing. See, this is what happens when you read books. This is what happens when you read. Because you will figure out exactly what were they doing in Sodom and Gomorrah. And he didn't destroy Sodom and Gomorrah because a few beautiful angels, which were black men, beautiful black men that came down in there. And them dudes said, you know what? We want some of that. We're going to get some of that. And then this dude come out here and offer them his wife, who was most likely one of these low down women. And they're like, we don't want that. We want that. And so what did they do? They raped them. Well, they attempted to rape them. Which is sodomy. The line between homosexuality and sodomy is drawn at perverseness, rape. And this is what they did in Sodom and Gomorrah. They were perverse. They raped. They stuck things up your rectum. They cut things off. They glued things on. They spliced things. They just like America is doing to this day. And that's what made me mad, because I'm like, all these things that's going on the earth that the people need to know. The people need to know that China, Spain, Japan, Europe, Italy, the people need to know that those places are empty. That those people are dead. Why is that important? Because it proves that God is who he said he is, and he's doing what he said he's going to do. But you can't even know that because you're so busy worrying about whether it was Malcolm X a bisexual or not. Who cares if he was? Chances are he probably was, because all of Israel is under vile afflictions. So as a man, if you have not thought or had a thought of what it would be like to be with another man, I know you're a liar. Because if you say you haven't, then you say God is a liar. Because God said he gave all of Israel up to those vile afflictions. All. That's part of captivity. That's part of the trauma of captivity. That's part of being in captivity, is dealing with those inferior, familiar spirits. That's why I hate the Hebrew camps, because they really act like they haven't been in captivity for 500 years. They're just there. Because that's exactly how the Christians act. Like they're just superior to everyone. The list of reasons why I hate the Hebrew Israelite camps, I could write books about why they should be destroyed. And all them dudes should be put down to death. All of them. And this is why I tell y'all now to leave those Hebrew Israelite camps. Go find these independent Hebrew Israelite channels that have more knowledge. Like the Big Levi's and Big Judah's and the Abdullah, because you're going to get really all the information you need from just those 3 channels alone. And when I realized that, I was like, well, what the fuck do you need everything else for? Hell, you don't even need my channel, goddammit. Because I don't even have all that information they have. You don't need nothing else but those 3 big channels. But you damn sure don't need the Hebrew Israelite camps. Matter of fact, they have deterred more people away from Hebrew Israelites. I talk to a lot of brothers all the time, and they say, I've thought about it, but I just can't stand them, the way they act. You know, it's because they're Christians. They're Catholics and Christians. That's why. They're Catholics and Christians. And that threw me for a whoop. Because the Europeans are being destroyed. That's why they're trying to make all these laws. And then here's it. Because the Hebrew camps have been always teaching this Jacob's trouble. This Jacob's trouble, that the white man is going to come and round up all the black people, and he's going to kill them, and he's going to force them to worship Jesus. Doesn't this sound familiar? Didn't that happen already? So you're telling me it's going to happen again, right? Get out my face, you pseudo Negro. Get out my face. You sound stupid. And you meant to tell me that God destroyed a whole city just because 2 dudes were having sex with each other? You got to be a special type of stupid. You have to be a special type of stupid. And then when you actually get into the detail of the story that's outside of the Bible, you see that there were splicing gene pools. They were putting the hearts in animals, just like America did. Put the heart of a pig in that dude. They were taking men's genitals and cutting them off and turning men into women, just like America. They were doing all these things. They were raping children. They were taking children. Just like America, just like the Christian church, the Catholic church. And I wouldn't put it past the Hebrew camps either. Because there have already been stories that have coming out by a few of those members of IUIC that have been found with children. There's been a lot of stories coming out about those dudes, man. And nobody, the Hebrews, oh, we don't see that. I didn't hear that. That day, I think it was about 3 years ago when it was the IUIC and ISUPK that got into a brawl in the middle of the street. And it was IUIC that called the police on ISUPK and said, go get him. That right there should have showed you who these niggas are, man. That right there should have showed you who these niggas really are. And where they getting their money from, and it's wrong. Wrong. Nobody wants to talk about that, though. Nobody want to talk about it.
Are you guys drunk? Yes. Yeah, we've been out clubbing all night.
And see, that's what I learned, because when I first came into the knowledge, I was trying to join one of these Israelite groups. And I realized that the spirits were totally different. Because everything they said sounded so like a lie. And when you had the real scriptures, you'd be like, no, the scripture don't say that, bro. It say this. Well, you just a devil. You just a devil. Okay. You purple Power Ranger bitch. Okay. That's why I realized these niggas ain't shit. They just like the Muslims. Because when we left Christianity, we went into Islam. We were like, oh, these niggas ain't shit. When we left Islam, we went into the nation of Yahweh. These niggas ain't shit. When we left the nation of Yahweh, then we went into the GOCC. These niggas ain't shit. We left the GOCC, went to the IUIC. These niggas ain't shit. Left them, went to ISUPK. These niggas ain't shit. And like I said, there's one group that, matter of fact, this is going to be another video because I got to go find their name right now. Okay, GMS. GMS is that other Hebrew Israelite camp. And those are the dudes I mess with. Just because when I was homeless, there was actually the ones I was preaching with. So GMS is the one where they're not talking about this foolishness. They're into that knowledge, the judgment, destruction, and all the books, not just 88 of them like the other camps. That's why all those other Hebrew camps were trying to go after GMS. GOCC, IUIC, ISUPK were all going after GMS. That's why all these camps outside of GMS, they need to be disbanded. All those so-called general this and priest that. Sit down, sir. Sit yourself down, clown. Who gave you that title? Oh, the Lord. No. You meant to tell me that the Lord told you all these things, but he somehow didn't tell your camp about COVID-19, huh? He didn't tell your camp about all these plane crashes, huh? He didn't tell your camp about all these car crashes, huh? He didn't tell your camp about all the plagues and diseases, huh? Because when COVID-19 hit, in 2020, you camps were going around wearing masks just like everybody else. You were standing there on the sidewalk preaching, holding a microphone with a mask over your face. I thought the Lord was your protector, nigga. You see, COVID-19 exposed the hypocrisy of everything and everyone. And if you were awakened, if you were listening and looking, you would have saw the hypocrisy of everything and everyone, including the Hebrew Israelite camps. And this is just the truth of that matter. This is the truth of that matter because they are liars. And when I heard them talking bad about my brother, the man who I idolized for years, and Malcolm X, that's a wrap. That's a wrap. The moment you say you have anything to say bad about Malcolm X, that's why I don't mess with the Nation of Islam, because you had your hand in killing that man just like the white man did. I don't give a damn what them niggas say. You murdered him just like the government did. But that's what they're talking about. Was Malcolm X a bisexual? And you got all these things going on. You got the United States Army that they're talking about moving it out of America into that foreign land that the Bible I told you about, the land of Jehoshaphat, where he was going to plead with him for the heritage of his people, and by plead he was going to slaughter them. This army is being moved out of America, and all you niggas can talk about who's gay and who's not. And that's just such a weird conversation and topic for so-called heterosexual men.
Are you watching dirty videos in here and didn't invite me?
It really is a weird topic for so-called heterosexual men to be talking about who's all gay and who's not.
I think I wandered into a beauty pageant.
Because deep down in the closet, that's what you are, nigga.
I'm Eli Green, the office manager. You must be
And I know this from experience because I went to school with a lot of these dudes. And when they came out the closet, they came out the closet. They didn't just go, they're not just a bisexual man who is a top. They went all the way over to the next level. They don't even have dicks no more. They went straight to the perverse level. Those are those dudes. That's who those dudes are in those Hebrew Israelite camps. I guarantee you, you come to find out that, I guarantee if you go in their houses, you're going to find some dresses and high heels. I promise you. Because that's what those type of niggas do. That's what the Christian church has always done. The Christian Catholic Church has always gone after people that were better than them. That's just the way it is. And the eunuchs were held to such a high regard to God and his kingdom that David used eunuchs all throughout his kingdom. Because some theories are that Jonathan was a eunuch. Being he didn't have woman or a wife, that's a great possibility that Jonathan was David's eunuch. And when you read Samuel and when you read the letters, you can't read this stuff and be like, oh, come on. So at the end of the day, Jonathan was a eunuch.
You should be throwing your hat in the ring for that executive job.
Really? And this girl's just like...
And that's why y'all hate the eunuchs, because they're still to this day held at a higher regard in the priesthood, because they can't be defiled by women. Being defiled by women is a serious issue, because as a man, when you allow a woman to dictate you, you cannot rule or control any damn thing. You are a simp. That's why they call them simps. Because a real man keeps his woman in line, just like the gays were able to keep these women in line. See, y'all, nobody want to talk about that. Nobody want to talk about how these women, while the gays mimic the woman mimic more of the gays than the gays mimic on the woman. And there's a particular woman that the gays mimic. It's the black woman. They mimic the black woman, and the black woman mimics them. That's why you niggas really be mad. Because a gay man, because sexuality is just a spectrum, it doesn't determine what gets your dick hard. You can say you're a gay man, but when the right pussy is laid upon you, that dick is going to go up. Period. Because all pussy make the dick go boom. It doesn't matter what you say you like. That's why I say sexuality is a delusional spectrum. It's a delusional spectrum. It's a delusional spectrum because if I was to put 3 men on a mountain by themselves, well, 3 men and 3 women, 3 gay men on the mountain, on the island, with 3 women by themselves, somebody's making a baby. But they're gay. None of that matters. They're going to make a baby. Period. If I was to put 3 men on the island by themselves with no woman, somebody's going to be riding some mechanical bulls. Oh, that's not going to happen. I'm not. Yeah, it will. It's natural. It's common goddamn sense. Somebody riding somebody. But they're straight men. Doesn't matter. Men have needs.
There's a reason Chevy is
Sexuality is such a delusion of a spectrum that only stupid people pay close attention to.
unwavering, like the people who keep this country moving. For them,
That's why I hate the Christian church, and always hated the Christian church, the Catholic Church. And that's why I hate the Hebrew camps. Because they're nothing more but pseudo-Christians and pseudo-Catholics.
0.9% financing for 60 months on this Silverado. It's over $6,600 in average finance savings. Chevrolet. Together, let's drive.
There's only two sexes of people, man and woman,
Years of hard work.
but the spectrum of sexuality is a broad level. It's a broad level. Because I've seen gay men have children, and I've seen straight men cut their dicks off. So there's no way you can convince me that gay is gay and straight is straight. You're just stupid.
To help protect against
Go sit down, silly little monkey.
by certain types of
Go read a book or something.
Capvaxive is the only vaccine that helps protect against the strains that cause 84% of IPD in adults 50 or older, compared with up to 52% by other pneumococcal conjugate vaccines.
This is why I can't be around people on such low-grade levels of thinking.
Tell your doctor if you have a weakened immune
Because
system.
while you're talking about the things that matter, this is the stupid shit they talk about. Is Malcolm X bisexual or not? I don't give a damn what he is. Malcolm X is Malcolm X, and that's my nigga. I don't give a damn. That's why we got to get rid of these beta males, man. We got to get rid of all of them.